Today, we're going to dig into a powerful mental model from a story that's, believe it or not, thousands of years old. But it honestly feels like it was written for our world right now. It's all about the incredibly dangerous illusion of stature.
So, let me ask you something. You ever have one of those moments, a small win, a bit of praise, and suddenly you feel like you're on top of the world, maybe even a little invincible? We're about to explore that exact feeling, and, you guessed it, the hidden danger that comes right along with it. For this lesson, we're turning to a classic, Aesop's fables. You know those simple animal tales that somehow reveal these deep, timeless truths about us? And this one in particular? It's a pretty brutal reality check. It warns us that when you let a distorted view of yourself take the wheel, you might just be driving straight off a cliff.
All right, so first, let's get into the story itself. Picture this. It's sunset at the edge of the woods. And that detail, the time of day, is absolutely key. Because sunset is when things can look very, very different from how they really are.
So you've got this wolf, right? And he's feeling pretty good about himself as he leaves his lair one evening. The sun is hanging low in the sky, and as he starts to move, it stretches his shadow way, way out behind him, making him look absolutely immense.
And this is the moment it all goes wrong. He glances back at this long, dark shape, and he doesn't see a temporary trick of the light. No, he sees proof of his own incredible size and power.
So, brimming with this newfound grandeur, his whole mindset shifts. He starts thinking, wait a minute, why on earth would I ever run from a lion? I mean, just look at me. I should be the king around here. And in that single moment, his vanity just completely takes over and makes him reckless.
As he's standing there, just admiring this incredible, distorted version of himself, a new shadow suddenly falls over him. One that's so big, it completely blots out his own. Yeah, reality is about to make a grand entrance.
And just like that, it's over. The very same lion he just called puny strikes him down without a second thought. The wolf's grand illusion gets shattered by a swift, fatal dose of reality.
So, what on earth happened there? I mean, the story is short, but the mistake the wolf made is absolutely huge. Let's really break down this great distortion.
It really all comes down to this. The wolf based his entire strategy on the shadow, a fleeting appearance, something that was totally dependent on the sun being in just the right spot. The lion, on the other hand, was the substance. His power wasn't an illusion, it was real, no matter what time of day it was.
And here's the big idea we gotta grab onto. That inflated self-perception came from a simple, fatal error. He mistook a temporary advantage, the angle of the sun, for a permanent change in who he was. He completely forgot his size was just a trick of the light, not a measure of his actual strength.
And of course, this brings the whole thing right back to us, doesn't it? Where are we doing this in our own lives? What's the setting sun for you? A lucky break, a nice comment, a good market that's casting a long shadow and maybe, just maybe, making you feel a little bigger than you really are.
You know, it's easy to dismiss this as just some old story, but no way. The wolf's delusion is absolutely everywhere. It's constantly playing out in our modern world.
Let's look at 3 places we see it all the time. Personally, think about someone whose post goes viral, and suddenly they think they're a world-changing thought leader. Interpersonally, it's the person who's loud in a debate, makes one good point, and now thinks they're an expert on the topic. And professionally, it's that company with one great quarter that starts acting like it's an untouchable giant. In every single case, they're measuring the shadow, not the substance.
So, here are the traps we have to watch out for. First, you start believing your own hype. Then, you forget that those favorable conditions, that setting sun, well, they're going to change, and that shadow is going to vanish. And here's the really dangerous part. You use this warped view of yourself to get rid of a healthy, necessary fear that was actually keeping you safe in the first place.
Okay, so if living in that sunset glow is the problem, what's the fix? Well, it's about learning to live at high noon. You know, when the sun is directly overhead and your shadow is at its absolute smallest. That's when you see your truest size.
So how do we actually do this? Think of these as your new rules to live by. They aren't just feel-good sayings, they're mental tools. First, always see yourself with that high noon clarity. Respect the real substance and power in other people. Ground your ego in actual hard work, not just talk. And finally, get in the habit of measuring your pause, not your shadow. This is how you build real confidence, the kind that lasts.
And really, it all boils down to this one powerful idea. It's this incredible reminder to ground our sense of self in what's real, what's tangible, and what's true. not in those fleeting, distorted illusions our ego loves to create.
But I want to leave you with one last thing to chew on. The whole story seems to be about this big external threat, right? The lion? But what if the real danger wasn't external at all? The wolf was so captivated, so in love with his own reflection, that he never even saw reality coming. Maybe our greatest vulnerability isn't the lions out there in the world, but our own failure to simply look in the right direction.